Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to talk about The Last Airbender. Yes, we're talking about the live action version, and we gave you guys a non spoiler review. This is our full spoiler filled review. So if you have not gone and watched the 8 episodes that were released on Netflix on the 22nd, go ahead and watch it all now because we're about to kind of divulge some things that we wanted to talk about the first time
Mhm.
that we can absolutely talk about right now. So I'm going to bring on the people that are part of this. First up, Busy Brian, what's going on, Busy?
Oh man, for someone who hasn't seen the OG, and I know I'm gonna get hate for that, but at the end of the day, man, this has been an experience and has given me all the reasons to watch the original. This was amazing, amazing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. From Bat Therapy, coming on deck, Amelia. What's going on, Amelia?
Hi. I was glad to join you guys. I am also a member of I did not watch the anime show. So,
Which may
yeah.
make her. I'm
Yeah, I
amazed.
know, I know, I know. So it was really fun to watch this, and I actually now I want to go back and watch what I have
Yeah,
missed from my childhood.
And oh my god, the Jedi Avatar himself, Jedi Mike.
there it is. Da-na-na-na. And okay.
What's going on, Mike?
I've received healing tonight. 14 year 14-year-old wound has been healed, restored. No,
Okay.
like yeah,
It
I'm
must
happy.
have been great to see Aang on screen again, right?
See, I got a paddle right there for you. Just for you.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, Mike, one thing you got to do moving forward after this, no
Yes.
longer speak of M. Night Shyamalan's The Last
Mm.
Airbender. Okay,
What
can you do
are you
that
talking about?
for all
There it
of us?
is. There it
What's
is.
that?
For all of us?
What's that?
I'm just
See, after
making
this
sure you
show, I
got
remember
it.
let go of the past and look forward to the future.
Yes,
Look, I'm gonna
sir.
put somebody's face up here just gonna
See what
like
you did there.
scowl at you, and then you'll remember.
Hey, yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. That's just, you know.
Yeah, so this is your moment, Mike. You can talk all spoilers as far as book one. Primarily, most of this was targeting book one. From the first episode even down to the line, like you could tell, like a lot of the episodes were from the animated series, like three, sometimes two, sometimes a little bit more, and they
Mm.
used a lot of tact in far as how they handled the storytelling. Now, for Busy and for Amelia, it didn't matter. So I want
Right.
to kind of talk towards having not seen the animated and talking towards the storyline and what you guys unfold. And me and Michael try to dab into how they transitioned it from what we saw. So
So
let you go or go ahead. Busy.
yeah, I'm diving into it, bro. So the thing is, it's like I am a big fan of what I saw, and of course with Mike and you, of course, Sam being there. Obviously we knew when there were certain things that was that was getting you guys hyped. Whether it was a little reference to the animation or animated show, excuse me, or whatever the case was. Like they straight up mentioned things that happened in episodes that we wouldn't necessarily that we weren't going to see in the live action. Like they talked about experiences that kind of canonized those moments, and
Mhm.
even though we didn't necessarily see it in the live action, you know it's still a part of their story. Different things like that. And I know it's really hard to jam pack a bunch of episodes in a short 8 episode span. And I truly believe that there's not many shows that are able to do it. And I think One Piece and Avatar: The Last Airbender are two shows that really did a great job. And then again, I haven't seen the OG, but I didn't feel like I was left out with a lot of information. I feel like a lot of the stuff that I was left out on was a lot of like Easter eggs, if you will. But I feel like I got a lot of what I needed to get. You know what I'm saying? Without it feeling like they were leaving newcomers out. And I feel like some shows do that. They don't always prioritize both people. You either go with
Mm.
one side or the other. Like, oh, this is for the fans, this is for newcomers. You know what I'm saying? It's never, it's really hard to balance it. And this show, I think, did a hell of a job with the balance, if you will.
No, absolutely. Amelia, any takes on that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The first episode I felt a little clunky where I felt like I was worried if I would get into the characters, but then after that point,
Mhm.
I felt like they did a much better job of like I could see the animated vibes that they were going for, but it was fitting really well and everything was like coming together into the characters more. But yeah, the first one felt a tiny bit clunky to me, but yeah, I loved all the different characters and yeah, just being able to ride along with the story. And I definitely agree. Like I didn't feel like I was chasing to keep up, which was nice.
Yeah, no, for sure. So for Mike, the fact is that this starts, like I said, on book 1, and then we end on the firefight of the the northern waterbending tribe. And I mean, it's an epic, insane firefight, but the journey is only 8 episodes span. And so there's a lot of in-betweens. There's characters that you know, like Boomy. There's references to things to come. There is the sister of one of our main characters, Zuko. So for you, what was the experience in transitioning of this amazing new series?
As it was previously mentioned, that the fact that the combining number of episodes into a 8 episode, 9 episode, 10 episode structure, normally that's familiar with Netflix's terms of show running of a particular season. I have never really seen this aside from One Piece to have cohesively merge not only just characters but just emotional moments in a way where you're still getting the same impact if you watched it like the 22, I believe it's like 20 some episode a season of Avatar Last Airbender the animated series, and even then they will change things in terms of like what happened like in certain moments, but they still give you the emotional impact that the animated series did, which made everything great. And yes, as you see, so and I was surprised because again, it's almost like, all right, there's moments where I'm thinking, okay, that's not how it went, but then it's like, okay, I'm okay. But then other things like, oh, that's different, and it might actually be better, possibly. But again, that's up for debate in the future. But I think I think on paper, this would have been a mess, honestly, of trying to combine all this stuff. But they did this very well, and I think even just a way as a case study of how to adapt serialized episodes of a show to a 10 structure episode in a very cohesive way, but also feeling like they're not rushing in some aspects, but also letting it sit when it needs to give that emotional impact. And this season of this show did that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good segue because I think we have to figure out what is the core of why this works. I mean, we've seen it translate very well, like it's from video game to a show like The Last of Us. We've seen One Piece where so many episodes, and that would be so scary for even anybody to try to approach, and they were able to make it work. But I think to me, the heart of it, it comes with why the original series worked and the people that were behind it. I think that there are key things about this that we can definitely segue to talk about. But the fact is that the original creators of the show were a big part of it in the very beginning stages of it. I think that they helped with the majority of half of it. I think that they are continuing to work on their own animated series. There's a little bit of controversy there. I'm not going to go into that, but they did leave a foundation of making sure everything was taken care of. In addition to that, the casting. So I think the segue I want to get to is this amazing freaking cast. They have some freaking bangers. And the weird thing is, we already knew, like, we got some amazing vet actors in this, but we did not know whether or not, and I mean, I will be the first one to see it. Will they work? Are they cohesive? Do they add balance, or are they disjointed? And I think that much like our first original time watching it, Mike, the original series, like we were kind of like, the first book is like, oh, this is really lighthearted, and it evolves and progresses into something that is life-changing. And in the short amount of time for this first season, I think we're along that same exact journey with this. But I want you guys to kind of talk towards some of these actors and their approaches to these characters. Some of you guys don't know the characters, and this is your first approach to them. But Mike, I'll let you go at first. Like, what was some of your takes on some of the characters and the actors playing them?
it was previously mentioned that the first episode was kind of I was a little bit concerned um, that again I wasn't feeling like kind of like not the dynamic, but also if if these actors are selling their performance, that well, where I'm like, this is Aang, this is Katara, this is Sokka, this is Zuko, this is Iroh, and then once we get to episode 2. Where now we're gone through the journey of introducing these characters. Now let's see how they're going to interact, and they just instantly just go right into it. And I was like, all right, I'm so. And then each episode, as it progressed, you're getting more and more flavor of what I am reminded of what these characters are. You have to remind yourself these are children. These are children, and I was a kid when I watched this show. But even then, those kid elements and the interactions they have with these actors put a smile on my face because it reminded me of just moments of when I was watching it for the first time, and also just being a kid too, and being put in positions where you have to mature at a very young age, not because of your choice, but because of life, because of the environment, and and you have no choice. You have to mature, and burden some responsibilities or something like that. And these characters are doing with tremendous responsibilities that even an adult is just wildly insane for them to handle. But they did that. But the actors conveyed it in a way where it's like they can see there's coping mechanisms for exactly like, hey, this is a 12-year-old kid. He's not going to respond to these situations and let someone else do it because he's a kid. You have one guy who all the men have left his village, and therefore he kind of get past his insecurity with just comedy and making no jokes, whatever. But you have one guy who is a good person because of his upbringing with his mother, but yet he has this burden of the throne and stuff. But yet he's like, because of his harsh parenting, that he's now thinking that him showing any ounce of emotion is a sign of weakness. And which that dynamic, even again away from an anime show, just with life, a lot of parents and children have done with like that type of relationship across mediums is very popular and very relatable, unfortunately, but it is. And I think that those actors conveyed it in a good way, even in the position of a young girl just trying to, want to go out and explore the world and stuff like that. But she's burdened to be stuck here and telling that she can't do things, even though she has the ability and power to do it. She just needs to be molded, nurtured, trained, and in order to flourish when she's given that opportunity. And again, their dynamics again made them together stronger than they are apart as the episodes were continuing, and when they were interacting with other characters who are very pivotal to their character development throughout the story. And that to me again, where it's like they definitely hit it with this. Even again, they change order, direction, whatever. They still hit in terms of emotional impact, and also when moments are done, they're earned, even in a 10 episode or in an 8 episode structure. So yeah.
No, that's a really good point. And Amelia and Busy, I mean, there's some actors in this that, are very notable. But for you guys, it's like, I don't know this character, but I think that we can all attest that they became these characters. So can you guys kind of talk to any of your favorites, like how they kind of commanded certain scenes? And I mean, were you convinced that what they were portraying was what they were trying to bring, so to speak?
So the thing is, I've seen actors typecasted. I've seen a lot of actors. Like when I see them on screen, you can have an idea on what type of character they're going to play.
Mm.
And I saw that with General Gao, right? I believe his name was like
Zhao. Yeah.
Zhao, excuse me. He was, what is it called? I've seen him in like Person of Interest. I've seen him in other things, and he's usually a snake, in a majority of the stuff that I've seen. And so I kind of expected that, but like of course he did just he killed it. I mean, even though we know he was going to be a douche, he still kind of caught me off guard with the different interactions he had, the pure hatred he shared with Zuko, just the different things like that. It was just really cool. And then we go to the Fire Lord, where the main thing I've seen this dude in is Hawaii 5-0. So to see him go from this or from Hawaii 5-0, where he's like a cool, cop, whatever, or to this, I mean, it was at first I was like, okay, like let's take some time to adjust, but he just kind of gave off that energy, like
Mm.
I mean, he did an absolute he did a hell of a job. I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that goes the same with a lot of the younger actors too. I mean, I was constantly praising them throughout watching these episodes. I mean, they absolutely killed it. Of course, I am not too familiar with the main, characters from the show. I've seen like the first 3 or 4 episodes, and that was like 4 years ago. So it's like I have an idea on how they're supposed to act, but nothing compared to where you guys are at, obviously. But just there were certain scenes where they had to like dial it from 0 to 100. We have comedic moments, we have action moments, we have literally like so many dramatic moments where these actors have to go in their bag and just go crazy and prove that they've earned what they got right here. And they murdered the roles. I mean, they did such a phenomenal job. And I really hope that people who are familiar with the animated show do, praise what they have been able to do.
Yeah. Amelia, anything to add?
I love Iroh. He's amazing.
Yeah.
And the actor that plays Iroh, so I think my favorite acting that he's done is in Kim's Convenience. He's the dad in that. And I think in general, a lot of times he has these characters where there's a lot of times like a fatherly kind of piece to it. But in Kim's Convenience, there's definitely more comedic value, but there's some here too. So I absolutely loved his performance. I think he did a phenomenal job. And then I have to say for the like main kids, well, all the kids really. So like for Sokka, Zuko, Katara, I think her name was.
Yeah.
For all of them, they grew on me. So Zuko, by the end, love his character. First half, couldn't stand him, thought he was annoying. He was meant to. I understand he was meant to, but I was glad to see that they went past the like 2-dimensional. He's just a shit teenager that's really annoying. And when they went into his past, I think that's really when that actor really got the opportunity to grow. And then Aang, I struggle with, but I don't think it's the actor. I think part of it for me is the frustration of just train, just do the thing, which is part of his character. I understand that he's got this like struggle going on, but I think part of it for me too was there's just, and I think it's meant to be this way, this huge contrast between this like innocent little kid. I know he's 12, but he's like this little kid, and then this whole big situation going on around him that he's just like forced into. And so I think just that contrast, which once again I think is supposed to be there, it's taking me longer to connect with his character, but I don't think that's an actor thing. I think that's just how the story rolls for me.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. I think that the biggest thing about it, because when I first watched the animated, and I mean, Mike, you could talk towards it, I kind of was like, "Dang, what are you doing? Why are you being such a kid?" Right? Like, what are you doing? Like, like there's more pressing things. Like, don't do this way, don't do that. And I think having gone over this from a live action standpoint, it gave me a more point of reference, especially having my own kids now. Kids, they want to take responsibility for everything. They blame themselves for everything. Even if like a mother and father are fighting, they think that they're at fault. And so because he's lost everyone, like he's treating everyone like they have to be important. And it is a huge struggle and a burden. But I think that the actor is playing him, he's doing a lot. Because the thing I was going to bring up next was like from a combat choreography standpoint, there's a lot of art forms that they're pushing here. They're doing a lot. I mean, the CG is great, but a lot of it is very practical. The set designs are freaking immaculate at times. Even how they're actually allowing them, with the way that they're dressed is insane. They're really transforming into these roles. But I definitely want to kind of show you guys some of the cast listing up here because there's
I felt bad. I couldn't remember any names.
I was really surprised with my man from
King No way, that's
King
him.
Yeah.
What?
I was like, shout out to him because he was killing it. But also give my man George.
George. Oh my god! I swear to God, I was thinking to myself, that kind of sounds like George Takei, but no, it's not.
And he
It-
was Fire Lord Sosa. Bro, this is
Yeah.
blowing my mind.
Yeah, even got my man the Keymaker up in this joint. Yeah, it's freaking insane. This is an amazing cast, and it's so much representation in here. One of the reasons why a lot of people had flack already for the one we will not name is because it was very not necessarily appropriate in terms of representation. But with this one, it is all the way there, and I think that the original creators had a big hand in making sure it felt authentic and it came through on a natural standpoint. But I think the thing about it that I was going to actually talk about from a narrative standpoint is that the original animated has moments of levity, comedy, and seriousness. And sometimes you can't do that really well. Neither can a lot of people take an animated or an anime and make it live action. But do you guys feel like they succeeded with that, and why?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I was going to get to.
This is the best live action adaptation of anything that came from Nickelodeon.
Okay.
Like, basically, think of it. Anything live action. Think of it in terms of we got live action. We got live action Very Odd Parents. We had live action.
Bar's real low, man.
Right, exactly. We got a lot of adaptations from Nickelodeon that has not gone good from when being just animated stuff. Off rip again, they even take creative liberties when we argue, even growing up as a kid, that hey, Avatar, Last Airbender is not a kids show; it's a show for everybody. Well, this show definitely, extended for hey, those people you guys when you were kids growing up, hey, you got probably have kids of your own now, and this is for you too. So they gave us a little extra brutality, extra scenes where they went further than what we saw in the animated cartoon. And I actually appreciate that they did, because then it's like it made up for like again certain creative changes, that they did. Because it's one thing if I wanted to be anal about it, I could, but then at first it's like I'm just trying to see what they're going with this, and I'm like, I see what they were doing and making their own thing adaptation. Like my wife was watching it, on the side with me. Again, you are supposed to gain new Avatar, fans or something into this, right? So the same thing. My wife did not watch One Piece at all, and now here she is watching the show, and then she watched the dynamic between Zuko and Azula, and like the whole parent dynamic and stuff like that. And just like she's like, yeah, and she relates to it. She's like, I can't wait to watch this, I'll watch this again and everything. So you got her hooked. Thank you. But and also I don't want to think too, because and I'm not even addressing the real controversy, but also is the fact that just because certain creative people were part of the show, they have some involvement to it. They and that doesn't think just because they departed, whatever those decisions may be, they still have a stamp on terms of creation of this show. And for that, I will always be grateful. So, and I think again for what it was worth, and everything that could go wrong didn't, in my opinion, right? Because there are a lot of things that could have gone wrong. The casting, again, we talk about the guy from Kim's Convenience who was also in The Mandalorian. This is his best performance I've seen him as an actor. Period. And I'm great that you're now having a very iconic character for a lot of people, and for someone who has that personality, even in real life, that that can be a lovable, kind person. That great that you got now been given this role, so that you can capitalize on this and to expand just also your career too. I'm looking forward to the future of these actors in the industry because of the success of this show. Like the guy who plays Zuko, he was in Shang-Chi. He was Aquafina's brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He only had a couple of lines.
Oh,
Yes, right. And now he's Zuko.
there you go.
So I was like, yeah, I we all have humble beginnings. So I'm all here for it. But yeah, I'm really happy again in terms of the opportunities of certain storylines to combat also status quo too. About how certain studios or properties, how they write female characters, and you see here it's organic, and this and their very, very, in terms of flawed characters, but I've been watching it since I was a kid, and knowing that here we are now with the climate of just in terms of telling story, certain characters, and now everybody want to wrap ideologies around it. These are just flawed characters, and these are kids that are absolutely relatable. And today, more than ever, when we have topics of mental illness, experiencing of life, this show is definitely needed for kids to watch as well. I honestly talk about back therapy. This is another episode probably show for you guys to do.
Yeah, I don't know what age kids should be watching this though, because it's a little brutal at times.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that's why we
there's
have
more
parents
violence
who do.
than I expected, considering it came off of a kid's show. What is it rated?
That.
Pizza,
That's what it's
Oh yeah,
rated.
that thing was so creepy.
That's what it's rated.
I got that as a kid. Y'all, and they put that on Nickelodeon. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I figured y'all were gonna be talking about some of this, but honestly, like an episode like this, which was a masterfully done episode on so many different levels, but this is a very dark character, and like the way that they approach him, it looked like something that Guillermo del Toro would be making. Like this straight out of Pan's Labyrinth right here. And the fact is that this came out years and years ago, and Mike harped into it like, this was written. But the truth of the matter is it was. And I think that them not holding back is something that I have to give them credit for, because they could have watered this down.
Yes.
And the approach could have went a different way left that would have undermined a lot of the progression and the weight that the original had. But then also for people like Mike said, nowadays they're dealing with a lot of different things like abandonment. They're dealing with loneliness. They're dealing with like things that are trauma inducing that they don't know how to face other than running and dealing with fear. And I think that so many different characters are dealing with things in this that the approach and how they handle it is everything. You can't hold back on some of those, because some of those storylines, even with Sokka, like could have been like really like fluffy. But every single romantic thing that they did with Sokka, they came with sacrifice. Like, I mean, he took a bullet for a couple different people. Like he's progressed as a character. He's not just a lover boy, so to speak. Like there are sacrifices and things that he's doing throughout the theme of this. But did you guys want to talk towards tone? Millie or Busy?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this. I think we weren't recording at the time, but I was talking about the development of these characters and where they first started. And again, I didn't really have the words, so I was kind of like just babbling when I was mentioning it. But I was talking about how where they first started in episode 1, where Katara was kind of like the empath, the one who understood and was the sensitive one, if you will, not and Sokka was the one who was going to be the warrior, the soldier, and all that, and the one who didn't really, care for the emotions. You know what I'm saying? Like he of course had a really bad mindset, if you will. And by the end of the season, it was like quite the opposite. He was the one who was there and was the one giving the, emotional support that the princess needed before she sacrificed herself. And same thing with Katara. She of course ended up switching and ended up being the soldier, ended up being the warrior that they needed to help out, and she made a huge difference at the end of it. So it's just really cool to see that switcheroo and that whole development process, with all these characters. It's just been so fun to watch. I mean, Zuko had such an amazing little arc. Same thing with Sokka, and I'm just really excited to see how that progresses in the next season if we get that.
Yeah. Before we go to Amelia, real quick question, because Mike, you might know this. I'm not sure if you know. When Katara at the end was basically kind of advocating to Aang to kind of stay, even after the moon was coming back, like Aang was still thinking about just deserting and running. He's been running this whole entire season. He's been trying to get the other previous avatars to take control of his body and just do it, right? And at the moment that Katara kind of was like, your family, and that I need you. Like, I can't remember, Mike, was that in the original? Like, because I felt like I don't remember her being that open with him about who he was to her.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the original. However, in this series, in the live action, that was delayed. That in terms of the show, 'cause spoiler, this was supposed to happen when he saw the corpse of Monkeyatsu, and then he just had an emotional reaction, and it was Katara talking to him, which calmed him down, saying that we're your family now. And then that's literally the ending of episode 1 was really when she should have said that. But then episode 2, that's when you get Momo, you get all this stuff, the personality. But that moment of saying, "Hey, we're your family now," was supposed to be at that moment after when he saw the corpse of Monkeyatsu and went to the Avatar state.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think during that time when it was at the beginning, it made sense because Sokka and her said him being family. But when it's just her isolated, it seemed really intentional how they did that. But Amelia, sorry for taking a little bit of your time. What did you think about tone in terms of how they handled the narrative and the characters in this?
I mean, I think it was good. I personally think I liked it more when it leaned serious with a little bit of dashes of the light in it versus like I feel like it started a little lighter and then and for me that just didn't vibe as well. But also, I guess I'm a dark soul, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's more about me. But yeah, and I think Aang is too. He's supposed to bring in that childlike presence. And I was sitting over here listening to y'all, realizing that I think part of my struggle with Aang too is, yeah, it's a bunch of kids. He's often the youngest. Yep. And so it makes sense that everyone else is having these larger, like more intense maturings that he's not there yet for, even though he's the one with all these intense powers. And even if there are girls who are like around the same age developmentally, a lot of times the girls might mature emotionally in all these ways first. And so it makes sense that he's kind of lagging behind everyone, but it just kind of gives you the sense of like, oh, come on, Aang, let's get there. But in some ways, I think that it's helpful to keep that childlike piece because there's a bunch of really dark stuff happening. And so I liked that they had those light moments that they touched in there. But yeah, I think I preferred when it was getting into the intense stuff, but they kept the lightheartedness in there.
Yeah. So kind of close it out, I think, because this is such a lot to kind of dive in, and we can go different routes, but I want to kind of keep for time. What was your favorite storyline in this and why? I'll let everybody kind of take your time, think about it. I'll talk to my favorite storyline for sure is their approach with Zuko. I think Zuko as a character in this, like in the original series, he's kind of made to be like, oh, dude, why are you such a douchebag? Like, you just calm down. It's going to be okay. But when you kind of unpack who he is, who his sister is, who his dad is, you understand so much about this man. But the thing that makes it so special in this, I think, and this might be blasphemous for some people, I think that their approach with Zuko and his uncle in this may be better than what they've even done for book 1 in the animated series. Because I think that there's so much you can do with actors that emote and allow their personalities to come through the performance. That, I mean, from an animation standpoint, I mean, animes do it all the time, but it's different when the translation is there. Like, you really deeply feel their relationship very early on, whether Zuko is being a jerk, or whether Iroh is being really witty and funny to try to keep him calm. But as the progression of the series goes, like, it's just so amazing. And then when you get those flashback sequences of like how Zuko was post his accident, post his fight with his own dad, and understanding, I think to me, understanding what kind of man he is, it makes sense when you see that scene where he's the person under the mask and doing everything. And everybody was like speculating. Me and Mike were trying to keep our mouths shut. But these two right here were like, it's Zuko. Like, no. Like, just enjoy the moment. But at the time when it was an animated series, like, I didn't know who it was. I was like, it wouldn't make sense to be Zuko. But the way that they did the characterization of the character in this, especially with those flashbacks, this was Zuko's episode. And I think that was when I was like, this is a perfect translation. I think that episode has made me believe that this is the perfect translation from what I remember to what I see right now. But what was one of you guys' favorite storylines in this?
I was a big fan of the whole Uncle Iroh and Zuko relationship because they were both exactly what they needed. I mean, some people can say Zuko needed that, kind heart of Iroh with him, but at the same time, Iroh needed Zuko. He lost his
Mhm.
kid. I mean, he didn't have that. I mean, he literally was willing to banish himself with Zuko
Mhm.
just to have that, to have that connection. Obviously, I love the journey we had with Sokka, with him running into different people. I really enjoyed that, but I think the Iroh and Zuko stuff really had me. I mean, the flashbacks were insane. The fight between Zuko and of course his dad was just intense as hell. But I mean, they just that's a dynamic that I really enjoyed, and I feared for Iroh's safety. Because I don't know what goes on here, and it's always the really really kind dudes. So I was like,
Mhm.
something's bound to happen. But I'm really happy they ended up rowing off in the sunset together, at least for now. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm really, really excited to see more of their dynamic and more of Zuko's growth.
Yeah. Amelia, what about you?
Team Zuko and Iroh, not to not
Yeah.
to order the same thing off the menu, but yeah, the by far my favorite. I do want to give a shout out though to Katara's storyline near the end. I really liked where that was going, and I think it's a really good point. Busy, I think you were the one making it about. It's interesting how her and her brother kind of transitioned to different points over the whole season. And a lot of it too was about not forcing yourself into the box that other people have put you in. And so a lot of characters kind of grew in those ways. So I loved when she like went to the Northern tribe and finally she can get more training. And then they're like, no, you have a uterus, so you can't do things. And then she fights the master. And so I really liked seeing her coming into her own. And you even seen her the end, how, I mean, she the first person that worked under her that they accidentally called her master, but she actually finds them dead at the end on the battlefield. And I think it was just suggesting that there's even more, that's going to be coming about for her, just in terms of like going into adulthood and what things look like for her as she transitions into those next stages. So yeah, Zuko and Iroh first, but I loved that Katara stuff too.
Oh, you muted.
Sorry, can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
There we go.
Yeah, Mike, you got a lot of different options here. I mean, even their approach to the very opening, going back 100 years, and how they kind of handle that. There's so many different storylines. What was your favorite? You can't pick the Zuko storyline though.
well, yeah. I'll just pick one just for sake of just picking something new that you guys already said. I'm gonna go with Almashu, that with Boomy and Jet, and also they combined 3 episodes into one episode, and it all makes sense. We have the introduction of the characters, and we'll meet at the Northern. I think at either East. I forgot was it either Eastern or Western. No, was the Western Air Temples. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, they're basically in the animated series. You meet the two characters, who are the engineer and his son, at an air temple where now being run by people who live there, but they're not air nomads. They just created technology and stuff like that to fly and glide. What you see, Jet, self-explanatory, but instead of Omashu, it was just a regular Fire Nation, more of a village and stuff like that. But the core essence of the same. But Boomy, all of it and everything, the whole playfulness of playing the games while also knowing this is your friend 100 years ago, and that, hey, listen, in the I can go on the anime series. So the anime series was the whole game. So basically trying to see if this guy is really the Avatar or not, whatever. And at the end of the episode, you find out his name is actually Boomy, his friend. He figured it out. But off rip, they said, "Oh yeah, I'm Boomy." Like but then I still have issues with you. The fact you've been gone. Hey, listen, in war, you have no time for games and stuff, and everything. And then I think that was a lesson. The fact of his best friend 100 years ago, now still alive, is not the same one, but he still remembers you. He's the one giving you the lesson. Hey, listen, you're going to have to accept the responsibility and the burden of being the Avatar, and then in that moment of at the end, Sokka and Katara save him, which doesn't happen, but it ended up just create that unity for them, saying that you can't do this alone, which is what for me, I felt that was just a unique way what they did. But I think strategically, they were combating Team Avatar, Aang, Sokka, and Katara having their own individual character growth in that whole episode arc of Omashu and everything. So again, the way they did it, again, on paper it would have been a mess, but they did it so eloquently that I actually appreciate the direction that they took. Even Secret Tunnel. Yeah, they had Secret Tunnel. They have flavor Easter eggs there, but instead of certain characters being there, it's Sokka and Katara because they're brother and sister, and they're still giving the same impact, different, definitely. But I appreciate how they did that. But that whole Mashu thing, yeah, Secret Tunnel, and you didn't know why I was so happy with that. Listen, the seeds of nostalgia in this is great. If but again, it's not just like it's just trying to dangle keys in front of you like they don't matter. It actually had importance, and I actually appreciate that in this time of franchises just want to do nostalgia. It's a shortcut, just giving you a good story. It's a good story, sprinkled with nostalgia. So yeah, I think the Mashu with that was great.
Yeah. No, thank you, Mike. So yeah, if there's anything else you want to tackle, like we can talk about it now, but if you can give your closing thoughts and letter grade for having watched the full season, you can go into as many details as you want to. This is a completely spoiler-filled discussion, so Mike, I'll give you the honors because I know you want to.
There's one thing we haven't mentioned is like, okay, this is not no spoiler for what's coming, but it kind of is, but it's not. They bring certain characters who are not really fleshed out until season 2. They bring them into season 1. And I actually think they did a better job with this character now bringing them into season 1, fleshing them out so we can prepare them for what's to come in season 2, which is Azula. And I will say that at first, when I saw the actress, I was like, okay, great and everything. But her voice, the character voice and everything is played by a grown woman anyway. So it's like, it's not like you can expect a young actress to have that sinister voice. But the personality of like, we know the end goal of whoever of Azula, that she's a person that's derived from perfection, and then how that crumbles you when you're trying to be perfect. This is where like, hey, she's building up to a point where, well, we will know who she'll be or be doing in season 2, but they did it in a way where now like Zuko and Azula's stories are linked. Yeah. Right. Which I think did a better job than what they did in the anime series of season 1. Because again, we saw like maybe 1 or 2 episodes in season 1, the anime series, as a flashback and in present, which was after the winning of the Northern Water Tribe. Then Fire Lord Ozai saying, "Hey, I got a mission for you, Azula," and then boom, that's how we get into season 2. But this is like, no, she been playing this from the start, because now again, the Game of Thrones type of style of storytelling. We all love that show, don't we? When it's good, but like everything is when it's connected. It's like these character arcs and their siblings. Sibling rivalries, all that stuff. Again, I'm only child, can't relate, but I know a wife, family members and friends who have siblings. You definitely see that, and they're building up to that. And I appreciate that Azula's a crucial character coming up to impact everybody, and they did a good way in making her also human. Because in the show, you're supposed to hate her. I actually feel sorry for her in this iteration of the live action iteration, which I think the impact of that's going to make it even more greater when we're going to have moments coming up later when this show does get a season 2. It will.
And you're calling for it. Mike, yes. Closing thoughts and rating.
Closing thoughts. Yes. I just want to emphasize on that character. Closing thoughts. Again, someone, who grew up with this franchise, is part of me, part of my, personality to show, taught a lot of lessons and everything. And now, I have something now to pass on to my kids, when I have them and stuff. But And the fact that I get to see this in the full live action and faithful but also creative adaptation of this show. This knocked it out of the park. Again, I might have some criticisms with then and there, but the heart it was, does this give the impact that the animated show did? And it absolutely do that tenfold. And I appreciate that. I'm actually give it, I want to say A minus, not to over just toot the horn like it's the best thing in the world. Even though I was have recording of me, acting like a kid again, which is what it's supposed to, and I don't apologize to nobody. But yes, I'm gonna give the show an A minus. And thank you to Netflix. And I'm looking forward to season 2 when you bring certain characters. I won't say this character's name, but yes. But yes, thank you.
Oh my gosh, Amelia, closing thoughts and letter grade.
Yeah, you don't have to know anything about the Last Airbender to watch this, which is great. So yeah, like I said, I felt like the first episode was a little bit of a slow start, but it immediately caught me and I ran with it with episode 2. So I feel like it picked up very quick, especially considering I think a lot of things are kind of figuring themselves out in the first episode. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of really great character developments. There's a lot of really cool, just, like Mike, you were talking about all the different things about childhood and development and siblings, and people were mentioning trauma and, what it is to be a kid and the egocentricity that comes with that. So then he's like blaming himself, but he also has all this power and just all these different things coming together for all these different characters, I think was done really well. So yeah, I was also actually thinking an A minus, where I think there were a few places that felt a little clunky, quirky to me, but for the most part, I feel like they did a really wonderful job, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes from here.
Yes. Thank you, Amelia. And Izzy,
I'm going familiar. I mean, similar with that. A minus. I mean, I knew I was gonna enjoy it. I mean, the fan base is massive for a reason. I mean, the storytelling alone. But of course, to be able to experience it with you guys and to feel the excitement off of course, Sam and Mike, I don't know. I don't know if I fed off of that a little bit, but it just made me want to watch more. And of course, that excitement just built into my own motivation to want to finish it. And it just, I don't know. They handled this really well. And again, it's no easy task to make a show again that's only 8 episodes and use a source that has 24 episodes, 22 episodes, whatever. It's not easy to fit that into 8 episodes, not at all. So I mean, I am extremely impressed because again, One Piece did it right, and I didn't think we were going to see another show do it right so soon. And I'm impressed. I really am.
Yeah. Before I get my letter grade, do you guys think this is better than One Piece? Which one do you think is a better show? Live action. What, this
visual effects and action? That's in my opinion. I mean,
unfortunately, visual effects wise, yes.
Yeah,
I love One Piece, man. It's really hard. It's really hard to put it out there. And they made some changes with that, just like they did with this. But I'll say visual effects, but that's where I'm drawing the conversation. I don't want.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean,
so Amelia, you the tiebreaker.
I don't know One Piece. Am I kicked off?
It's our
Am I kicked off?
It's a testament to how good this is. It's a testament to how good this is. You know what? This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give my letter grade. Michael understand. A plus, homie.
Hey,
I'm sorry. They did it that.
Oh shit! So it's like directly from. Oh
yes.
And I'm gonna say this as well. Even though Mike didn't catch it,
I don't want to look at too much now.
I did. No, I caught. No, I caught it too. No, I caught it too. But I was like, at the end, I'm like,
no, you wanted
easy.
You wanted.
I like, there's a moment. I was like, wait, why'd you stop it? And I was like,
so there's a moment where Azula is kind of like just fed up, and she gets a little angry. And if you notice, like she uses her flame, but the flame gets so hot it's a little blue, and that happened in a small blink moment. And it was
Mhm.
no, it's no spoilers, Billy. Don't worry.
It's not.
I'm not Mike. I wouldn't do that to you.
Damn.
In the show, when she was pissed, like there was.
Yeah.
I
small
get
little
why
blue
they
thing
did that
came
now.
up.
I actually get why they did that. At first, it was like I have to deal with the conviction of like, oh, it's different. But then I'm like, now wait a minute. Actually, like, oh, that's
You were
smart.
constantly like, I approve. I approve.
Yes,
I
I
approve.
approve. I accept you.
Yeah, Busy and I knew we guessed something right because you guys just didn't say anything.
I tried to stay shut this whole entire time.
Your
but
silence spoke
The
so
problem
much.
was I couldn't stay silent because I kept on saying, Mike, I'm going to mute you. So I had to keep saying, Mike, I'm going to mute you. So it would throw Busy and Amelia off because I was like, they're going to guess what I'm talking about.
Busy guessed that Zuko was the person breaking in the mask.
Mhm.
And then I guessed that Princess Yue was going to become the moon spirit.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So
me
we
and
did
Mike-
pretty good, Busy. I think we yeah. High five.
Me and Mike were just trying to be so quiet the whole entire time. But no, for me, I mean, having loved the original series, and I think this is a great adaptation of it, man. Like this is as exciting, as heartfelt, and as dangerous and serious. It's a thought-provoking kind of show that tonally goes back and forth. Sometimes I will say sometimes it lands, sometimes it kind of comes a little cliche at times. But I felt the same way with the older original series. And I don't think anybody that goes back to the original can say that every single episode was perfect or tonally everything worked perfectly. But progressively, it got amazing. And I think if this is the embodiment of that, by the time we go through a few seasons, you guys are going to be hooked. I can't wait to come back to all of you 2 years from now. I'll put it like that. 2 years from now, I'm really excited to talk with all of you guys again. So yeah, for me, A+. It was more than what I could have ever thought, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's our conclusion on our spoiler-filled review for The Last Airbender. Go to the description bar below. Let us know what you kind of think. I'm sorry, in the comment section below, let us know what you thought of it. Amelia, where can everybody find your content?
You can find me at the Bat Therapy podcast. So anywhere you find your podcast, we're also on YouTube. And we have a new Patreon as well. So /Bat Therapy.
Woo, woo. Thank you, Amelia. Busy Bryan, where can everybody find your content?
Busy Braun everywhere. Busy Reactions on Instagram. Help me get to 100,000 followers on TikTok and 30,000 on YouTube. We are going to be having a lot of reactions coming out. And I plan on dropping a lot of reactions for this show specifically, which do include yours truly, the entire cast of this little episode right here. So if you guys are into that, of course, head over there. And yeah.
Yeah, episode 4, Halo. Be ready, guys. I'm going to shut up from there. Jedi Mike, where can everybody find your content?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and on Twitter.
Finally.
Yes, at Jedi Mike 7. You also find me here on TeamJVS as well. On YouTube, do live streams, do videos. Instagram, I've been popping on Instagram. So make sure you follow that too. At Jedi Mike 7 right here. Yes.
This man said he's been popping. We're gonna go follow Mike on X. He's finally on Twitter at last, so you guys can kind of comment on him and all the things that's part of his reactions that are gonna be.
Hey, please clip me. I really clip me if you can. Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I have no shame.
His first 2 episode reactions, you guys are gonna want to definitely meme some of them. So we'll be back again for more things coming. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for being an amazing host. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace, people.
Filing out the top of I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on